It's another weekend of European soccer action, and it's time to make this weekend's soccer predictions. We're off to a good start with these weekend parlays, going 3-1 in week number 1, 5-0 in week number 2. We did one midweek for the Liga action, though, did come up short with Atletico Madrid failing to get that win, but it's still a good start to the European soccer season. We'll move on to Saturday and Sunday's action, and if you find this info helpful, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. And starting this week, I'm going to start looking for some extra picks to include for the members-only area of the channel. I'll keep covering the main leagues on the weekends and MLS and other top tournaments like Champions League and more, but I plan to look into a few extra bets and parlays each week and share them in that members-only area of the channel. Oh, there's so many leagues going on, so many games, only so much time to make so many videos for everything, so be sure to click on that membership join button for more information. This week, we welcomed 3 new members already in Jesse S., Ike Okafor, and Naman Dillon. Thank you all for becoming members of the Shred the Spread channel. Okay, let's move on and make some picks for this weekend. Starting in the Premier League on Saturday, Leicester City, Aston Villa. Leicester's return to the EPL hasn't been great so far. Could be worse though. They drew Spurs 1-1. They were heavily outplayed though in that game. They then lost 2-1 away to Fulham last week. Villa got started with a 2-1 win in West Ham, but then lost 2-0 in their home opener to Arsenal. Villa is a Champions League team this year, but they only have 1 win in their last 6 EPL games if we look back into last season. On the road, they've kept just 1 clean sheet in 8 EPL games going back into last season as well. Only one of Villa's last 19 EPL games have not seen at least 2 goals scored. Many have seen more than 2. We may be including mostly championship level games here, but at home at the King Power Stadium, Leicester City have scored in 17 straight across all competitions after beating Tranmere in the EFL Cup 4-0 on Tuesday. Now, I could see the scoring continuing with them at home here. Leicester's top goal threat, though, is just an aging Jamie Vardy, and their best player, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, was sold before the season started over to Chelsea. I could see both teams to score, maybe just an over 1.5, though, for this parlay. We'll move into West Ham and Manchester City. It's a 2-1 loss and a 2-0 win for West Ham, and then a 2-0 and 4-1 wins for Man City. The Hammers played in the EFL Cup on Wednesday, and they just got by Bournemouth with Jared Bowen scoring in the 88th minute late in that game. They played many of their key players for most of that game, so could be tired. The Hammers saw the third most both teams to score games last season at 68% and 95%. The second most of their games had at least 2 goals with 68%, while 68% saw 3 or more goals. Man City won 3-1 and again 3-1 in the 2 meetings last season, and they are now 17-2-1 in their past 20 head-to-head meetings with West Ham. West Ham's only win was a 0-0 draw in the Cup where they won in PKs, and that was back in 2021. City has scored 2 or more against West Ham in 6 straight, which looks like a good part of the parlay here. This should be a City win, could be both teams to score. City often gives up some goals. West Ham could be tired here. Certainly Man City has had their number now for many years. I'm just going to ask Man City to score at least 2 in that game for leg 2 of this parlay, so it's Man City over 1.5. And then we'll round it out in Germany for leg 3 of this parlay, Werder Bremen and Borussia Dortmund, also on Saturday morning. This looks like another good both teams to score game. It could be at least 2 or more goals as well. Both of these teams last season saw 85% of their games go over 1.5. Werder only failed to score at home 3 times in 17 home Bundesliga games, but then Dortmund only failed to score 2 times in their 17 road games. In Dortmund, BVB won a 1-0 last year, while they also won 2-1 in Bremen. The both teams scoring over 2.5 has cashed in 17 of the past 21 games between them. Dortmund won 2-0 at home to Frankfurt last week, while Bremen drew 2-2 away to Augsburg. This certainly could be a both teams to score or both teams to score at over 2.5, but I thought that was a possibility last week as well, and then Dortmund did manage to shut Frankfurt out 2-0. So to be safe in this parlay, just over 1.5 for me, but certainly I'm not against the both teams to score either. So this number 1 parlay here will be Bremen and Dortmund over 1.5, Man City over 1.5 goals just by themselves, and Leicester and Aston Villa over 1.5, coming in at minus 107. Number 2 parlay, 2 Bundesliga games here. On match day 1, it's Frankfurt and Hoffenheim, and on match day 1, Frankfurt started strong, but ultimately lost 2-0 to Dortmund. Hoffenheim were handed what looked like an easy start versus newly promoted Holstein Kiel, but despite taking a 2-0 lead, the game got much closer at 2-1, then 3-1 in the 87th, and then it managed to finish 3-2, with the last goal being scored in the 89th. Frankfurt won both games last season when these teams met, 3-1, and goals are always aplenty when these teams match up. Goal totals have been 4, 4, 4, 6, 4, 5, 4, 3, and 3 in their last 9 meetings. The both teams to score over 2.5. It's got a perfect 9-0 in those games. The both teams to score alone is 13-1, going back even further. We don't need to just look at their head-to-head, though. Even when they don't play each other, just in regular games against other opponents as well, both teams to score also typically hits. Prior to last week's 2-0 loss, both teams to score had been 12-2 in Frankfurt's Bundesliga games. Hoffenheim kept only 2 clean sheets in the Bundesliga all last season. They had the highest rate of both teams to score games at 85%. No one else had higher than 74%, while Frankfurt saw 68% of their games going both teams to score. For the parlay, both teams to score in this game looks good to me. Certainly, you could bump it up to both teams to score and over 2.5. That would make sense as well. Leg 2, it's going to be another both teams to score. I'm going to Holstein, Kiel, and Wolfsburg. It's Holstein Kiel's home debut in the Bundesliga, and that alone should give them a little extra jump in their step here in front of their home fans. Their Bundesliga debut, just in general, came last week, and while they fell behind 2-0 to Hoffenheim, like we just said, they did fight back, ultimately going on to lose 3-2. They put up 2.11 XG. They had 15 shot attempts and 6 shots on target, so they certainly had their share of offense. Wolfsburg also lost 3-2 after being up 2-1. They were at home hosting Bayern Munich. Obviously, Wolfsburg are the better team here, better side, but only twice in 21 road Bundesliga games have they kept clean sheets. And while we may be talking about the second division here, Kiel at home have scored in 12 straight and 20 of 21 of their past home matches across all competitions. So for me, this looks like a good both teams to score. If we go Holstein, Kiel, and Wolfsburg, both teams to score, paired with Hoffenheim and Frankfurt, both teams to score, we can get a pretty nice price at plus 154. Number 3, more Bundesliga action for this third parlay. It's Leverkusen and Leipzig. This is the last game on Saturday. Leipzig will miss captain Willi Obrand, who took a red card in last week's game versus Bochum, which ended with a 1-0 win for Leipzig. Leverkusen kept the winning going after winning the German Super Cup in PKs after a 2-2 draw. They went to Gladbach on opening day last Friday, and they won 3-2. Now that late game magic continued with Florian Wirtz scoring the winner in the 101st minute of that game. Only a 3-0 loss to Atalanta in the Europa League final stands as Leverkusen's only defeat across their last 56 games. They've also not lost in 35 straight Bundesliga games, but then Leipzig haven't lost in 12 straight Bundesliga games. Leverkusen also played in the Pokal on Wednesday, where they again won 1-0. They could certainly have maybe some tired legs after playing midweek compared to Leipzig, who were off. Leverkusen kept a ton of clean sheets last season, but not when they played RB Leipzig. It was 2 3-2 wins. The personnel hasn't changed much on both sides, so let's bet on goals coming again. Both teams to score. For me, you could maybe add a third if you wanted to do both teams to score over 2.5. We're going to pair it up with one La Liga selection this week. It's going to be Valencia and Villarreal. It's the Derby de la Comunidad between two teams separated by just 35 miles down the east of Spain. It's a great start for Villarreal at 2-1-0 with a 2-2 draw, 2-1 win, and 4-3 win. They've kept right up with last season for high-scoring games, with their games averaging 4.7 goals per match. That's tied for the most with Celta Vigo. Meanwhile, Valencia find themselves bottom of the table right now, 0-3. They have losses of 2-1, 3-1, and 1-0. It's a quick turnaround for both here. Villarreal played Monday, and then Valencia played even more recently on Wednesday, so Leceister will be the more tired side, but they are playing at home, and they will be more desperate to get some points on the board before we go into the international break. The last meeting was 1-0 Villarreal, but the previous 12 all saw at least 2 goals scored between these teams, including a 3-1 Valencia win at this venue last year, and a 1-1 and 2-1 scores before that. Valencia have not failed to score at home versus the Yellow Submarines since going all the way back to December 2017. Villarreal have piled up the shots on target with 17, while Valencia's 5 in 3 games is among the worst in La Liga right now. However, Villarreal have also given up the second most shot attempts and the most shots on target, so this could be a chance for Valencia's offense to improve. Valencia have been in awful form, though, for a while. Their preseason even saw them go just 2-2-3. They ended last season winless in 7 La Liga games, and all told, they have just those 2 preseason wins across their last 17 games, where they've been outscored 27-16 and shut out 7 times in that stretch. We're counting, obviously, a lot of preseason games here, and so certainly not all games that matter. But the point is, no matter the competition at any level, Valencia has been struggling, and oftentimes some of the top level teams can get some easy wins in preseason before they go into the season. That wasn't even the case for Valencia. So take your pick here. I can see at least 2 or more goals here easily in this game. If you take the over 1.5 and pair it with that Leipzig and Leverkusen, both teams to score, we get minus 108 odds, which is good enough for me. You could bump that up, though, to both teams to score very easily. That would get you much better odds at plus 158. Like I said, I really do think both teams to score could be a good one. But since we already have a both teams to score with Leipzig, Leverkusen, We'll just go over 1.5 when you consider that Valencia have only scored 3 goals in their last 6 games, even when playing at home at the Mestalla, and they've been shut out 3 times in that time as well. So, Leipzig, Leverkusen, both teams to score. Valencia, Villarreal over 1.5, coming in at minus 108. One more parlay here. Parlay number 4 on to Sunday, and it's going to be all Premier League here, 3 games. We're going to start off with Chelsea and Crystal Palace. It's the early Sunday game here. It sees Chelsea hosting Crystal Palace at Stamford Bridge. Palace comes in to this game off of a 2-1 and 2-0 losses. They now must contain a Chelsea side that's brimming with confidence after last week's 6-2 rout of Wolves. This after a 2-0 defeat to Man City in Week 1. But versus Wolves, they put up 8 shots on target, scored 6 times despite being drawn 2-2 at half. Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer scored in the first half. Nano Madueke scored the next 3 goals. And the new addition, João Felix, scored just moments after coming off the bench as well. Palmer also added 3 assists in that game. On Thursday, Chelsea played in the Conference League as well. Could be slightly tired. They played against Servette. Chelsea usually has their way with Palace, having won each of the past 14 games, including 2-1 and 3-1 last season. To me, this looks like it should be a Chelsea win, but don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here after just one good Chelsea performance. So in case it's just another shootout and we just see goals coming from both sides, I'm just going to ask Chelsea to go over 1.5 on their own. Next up, Newcastle and Tottenham. It's a 1-0 win and a 1-1 draw for Newcastle, and a 1-1 draw and a 4-0 win for Tottenham so far. Both teams scored 4 goals at home last season, with Spurs winning 4-1 and Newcastle 4-0. Other scores between them have been 6-1, 2-1, 5-1, 3-2, 2-2, 1-1, and 3-1. Newcastle's games didn't always see both teams to score hitting last season, as it was just 61%. That was the 6th fewest. That's still well over half of their games. But then 71%, both teams to score bets did cash for Spurs, and that was the 2nd most. Newcastle did keep 8 home clean sheets in the EPL, that being the 2nd most. But for me, this bet is mostly based on the fact that Spurs always look like a team that can score, but also concede. Odds makers seem to agree. I can see that both teams at the score at Bet365, priced at a ridiculous minus 275. Can't bet that on its own. But in a parlay, I will go both teams to score, Newcastle and Tottenham in this game. In the final selection, a big game between Manchester United and Liverpool. They played 3 times last season. First, it was 0-0 at Anfield in the EPL, then a 4-3 Man U win in extra time at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, and then a 2-2 draw at Old Trafford in the EPL. A road team hasn't won in this matchup in 6 meetings, and that 0-0 was rare, as other recent scores between them have been 7-0, 2-1, 4-0, 5-0, 4-2, and 3-2. All of those heavy wins have all come for Liverpool. The Reds are off to a flying start under new manager Arne Slot, winning 2-0 over both Ipswich and Brentford. Impressive, but not exactly top competition. Meanwhile, Manchester United beat Fulham 1-0, but that was on a late 87th minute goal that they got in that game, and then they lost 2-1 to Brighton, this time losing on a late goal that they gave up in the 95th. These teams are among the leaders in XG right now. Liverpool 1st, Man U 3rd. Liverpool are also 2nd in shots and shots on target. I can certainly see both teams to score here, especially being in Manchester, or just more simply, since we already have Newcastle, Tottenham, both teams to score, and Chelsea over 1.5, getting us around even money, we can just add over 1.5 to this to bring us to plus 137, which is good enough for me. But if I was picking a winner, it would have to be Liverpool, or maybe both teams to score in this game, or both teams to score in over 2.5. Those will be my soccer predictions today and picks and parlays in the EPL, La Liga, and Bundesliga. Let me know what you're betting down there in the comments this weekend. If you want to scoop up some great bonus money, check out my link, signupexpert.com/shredthespread. That link will be down there in the comments, and you can see tons of great offers from all the top sportsbooks in your area before you make your bets this weekend. Check it out, and good luck.